Stuart,
Yes.
what's a good way to mitigate expectation when you're emotionally entangled in something?
Uh, look, first of all, it's part of your inner work to get strong enough that keeps you from allowing your emotions to run away with you. And if you manage to build a system inside that can do that, you're not going to get, emotionally entangled in such a way where it's going to be impossible. And when you're emotionally entangled, there are going to be a lot of expectations about how other people should function, what they should do, what they shouldn't do, what you think is right or wrong in terms of behavior. And it just creates a nightmare because there's no two people that see the world exactly the same. An example of this is, I was at once a week, I go to this poetry thing that's online, and there are some fairly decent poets there. And one guy wrote a poem about, a dove who was cooing, and he called it cute. And when people saw the dove, it was cute, it was cooing, it was, something. And then the other part of the poem was a hawk that saw the dove, and the dove was its lunch. And, after he read it, I said to him, look, there's a great truth in this. Everybody sees, and everything in the universe sees reality differently. And if we have expectations about the way people should function, we have to be sure that we fit into their reality, which is almost an impossibility. So we have to be strong enough to be able to quell our expectations, give people room around us to breathe, to find their life, and if they infringe and trespass on your emotions, your life, your being, you can say, no, I don't need to have a person like this in my life. Now that takes strength because there's always a part of us that's convinced we can change people and make them function differently. And generally, a lot of time and energy is invested in this. And in most cases, it never really works. And if you truly love somebody emotionally, you love them, then you have to be strong enough to be able to deal with the baggage they bring you. And that's okay, because everybody has baggage. There's not a person alive who doesn't have some kind of baggage that they travel their life with. And if we really love people, love somebody, we're in a relationship where we really deeply fall in love with somebody, we have to be prepared to have the inner strength to be able to, deal with their baggage. Love them anyway, unconditionally. And that kind of love can often help another human being work out their stuff. You give them room to find out what the problems are, what's wrong. And hopefully through some kind of inner work that these other people do, they will find a way to work out their lives and their situations. Otherwise, it's just emotional entanglement. It's lecturing people on the right way to live. And none of us know the right way to live. We all see the world differently. And frankly, I don't know if there is a right way to live. Yes, nobody wants to be a murderer and a criminal and this and that. But, in many cases, even people that are criminals, they don't see that they're doing anything wrong in the world. They're just trying to survive in the only way they know how to survive. So the moral code, I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm not here to judge it, but I am here to say only one thing. If you truly love somebody, if somebody is dear to you and you're attracted emotionally and physically and in every way, you have to be responsible to get strong enough inside to be able to allow them to work out their lives and not be judgmental because they have baggage. It's unconditional love. You have to love children that way, your parents that way, unconditionally. And sometimes it's impossible and very difficult, but you get stronger. I mean, look, my teacher, Rudy, when he was 2 years old, his mother kicked him down a flight of steps and cracked open his head. He was in the hospital for 6 months, healing from that. I mean, it was every reason under the world he would never want to have anything to do with his mother. Yet I never saw, he was so respectful to her and he loved her so deeply. And he put up with her and what she was and how she was, and she wasn't easy. That I learned such an enormous amount about dealing with my own mother and my own family, and, through watching the way he dealt with his mother. And his mother was not an easy person. She was very difficult. And I became very good friends with her. And part of the way I became very good friends with her is I watched the way he treated her and what he had to overcome in order to treat his mother that way, with unconditional love. He used to say to me, she's my mother. I have to learn how to love her unconditionally. And it made him into an extraordinary human being, being able to do stuff like that. So what's right and wrong in the world, I don't know. I just don't know. There's a book by Dostoevsky called Crime and Punishment, where Raskolnikov, the main character, murders this old lady and robs her. This horrible crime he committed. And it basically, by the end of the book, it saved his life. It saved his life. It became this extraordinary moment that transformed him and forced him to go so deep inside himself to find a true connection with reality and love. And it basically saved his life. It's an amazing book to be able to read something like that. So I don't know what is right or wrong. I know we all have to get strong enough to not get emotionally entangled in situations. And for no other reason that they just drain our life out of us. And if we want to be involved in a relationship, if we love somebody, then we have to truly say, I got to get strong enough to be able to deal with the emotional entanglement, the baggage this person is bringing into my life, what they are, who they are, the things I don't like about them. You got to be strong enough to love them unconditionally. And that's what makes relationships work. Otherwise, 75% of all people get divorced in this country. So it's another way of growing spiritually by being involved in a relationship. Very powerful way to grow spiritually. Because in order for the relationship to work, we have to get big enough in ourselves to be detached, to love unconditionally, to not be judgmental, to give somebody else the room to live.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Does anyone else have a question? Anyway. I hope this is clear because I've never met anybody in my life who doesn't face this kind of situation. You can't be human and alive without having to go through some kind of emotional entanglement. But it's not unhealthy. It just, hey, I got to get stronger. I have to build a much more powerful chakra system to be able to deal with, another human being. And if looked at in that way, this is very healthy to get involved in relationships because they make demands. We have to grow up. We have to grow. We have to get connected to God in order for these things to work. And in not a dogmatic way, and truly an unconditional, loving way. Does anyone else have a question? Good questions. Well, I just have this one thing to say before the classes. When I start the class, it's usually 2 minutes after the half hour, 7:32. And 90% of the time, I just go right into the class. I don't really talk unless I have something important to say, and it's not a social situation. It's really a situation of meditation, of deep inner work. And I'm asking you, people can come 2 minutes earlier to the class because every time somebody shows up a little bit late, it really disrupts the class. I have to go and click on admit. I have to take my eyes off the person I'm working with, and it disrupts the class. And basically what it amounts to is for somebody to show up 2 or 3 minutes earlier. And I think it's a good sign of respect, and it's a good sign of truly understanding that 95% of the time, if you show up a little bit late, there's going to be a class going on. And it disrupts the class. I'm happy that you're in the class. I look forward to every single one of you being here. But I'm just asking, those of you that have a tendency of coming late, show up 2 minutes earlier. I think that's not an impossibility, to show up 2 minutes earlier. Okay, does anybody have a question they'd like to ask? Or if you are late, just come and sit there and meditate and don't move, don't fidget, don't play with your computer. Just come and just join the class. Be there, ready to join the class.
I have a question, Stuart. It's Christine Lorenz.
Yes.
When we as students make demands of the teacher, I sometimes think I don't want to bother them and ask, but at the same time you have said, ask, it makes you grow. And there's always a little bit of a hesitance here for me at times about that. Can you talk about that?
Yes, if you're going to come to me with, nonsense, I'm not going to be interested, and I'm not going to be happy to answer your questions. But if you have a really deep spiritual question to ask, you can get in touch with me anytime you want. Anytime you want. You can, after a class, during the day, you can send me a text, an email. I will be happy to take time to answer it. But if you're going to people come to me with all of some of the nonsense, things that, that they can work out themselves. They don't need to take up my time during the day. I'm not going to be bothered with it. I've learned a long time ago You know, I mean, I've had people, you know, I used to say, I only answer spiritual questions. I used to say that to people, you know, when they would ask me these silly questions about stuff. So look, if you have a really deep spiritual question any time of the day, I mean, I know if I'm sleeping, I can't get to it until the morning, but at any time of the day, if it's deep and it's spiritual, if it's some, you know, I don't know, emotional this and that, and how am I going to make money, and how am I going to do this or get a time, you know, I'm really not going to bother myself with that. I'm really truthfully, it's not, those are things you have to work out yourself. But if the question is you've reached a point where you are working deep on yourself and you are a little bit blocked and you can't get past it, and it's a real question, and any time of the day you have the right to come and bother me. Okay. Because there's really nothing more important than that, than to help somebody move, you know, forward in their spiritual development.
Thank you.
You know, if it's questions about, you know, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, I mean, I get worn out with that stuff, you know? I mean, but if it's something you're really blocked inside and you're ready to take a major step in your life, bother me. I'm more than happy to do whatever I can to help anybody who comes to me with that kind of question.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have a question? Okay, if there are no more questions, there will be a meditation tomorrow evening, same time. And you know, God bless you all. I'm looking forward to seeing you all then. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And once again, I'm very grateful to be able to sit here with all of you and do this work. So thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.